morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I am Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. Today on Comedy and Controversy, with all the chaos that's going on in the world, the Tennessee Three, the indictment of Trump, people being subpoenaed to testify. Hell with all that shit today. We're taking a break from it. We are going to talk about unity today. So we are going to have a little fun. Hello, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I've been thinking all day of how to introduce myself, and best thing I can come up with is your favorite stoner from another boner. But no, hey, how's it going?
Hey, not too bad. Not too bad. Oh my goodness. Let's kind of work on bringing people together today.
Yes, please.
If you're watching the show, and hold on a second, I forgot to set up the Twitter. Darn it! Let me get the Twitter going. Let me get them on here. There we go. Okay, I got Twitter going. So if you're on this, or you're on Twitter, or you're on Twitch, just let us know if there's an organization that you know about that
would be nice.
Yeah, that works on unifying people, and leave it in the comments. Let us know, and we will put that organization up on the thing. I'll look it up and put it up on the screen.
I would love. Yeah, I was gonna say, like we talked about earlier, man. I see a lot of groups dedicated to specific individuals and specific groups, but that's what I came up with the concept. There's got to be a way to unite all Americans. I mean, the ones that embrace differences and want progress. There's got to be a way to do that, and I have not yet found an organization that is dedicated. I mean, there's some dedicated to democracy and stuff like that, but not bringing people together. So.
Well, and even if they are, groups that bring people together in a community or whatever and all that, it's still the bringing together of people. So anything that's kind of pushing for unity in a multifaceted way, feel free to, leave a comment or something, and we'll look it up and check it out, and maybe even post it up here. I think we should probably kind of tell everyone a little bit about us, who we are and where we met.
I don't think we've done that. We've never done that on the show. I don't think.
No. There's a Twitter personality, Natalie Jacoby, that does Twitter Spaces.
That's how I got it.
And that's where Jeremy and I met, was in one of Natalie Jacoby's spaces.
No, actually, I was on the space, and after I got out of the space, I private messaged her and asked her if she knew anybody that did podcasts. So, because this is when I was first getting on social media. Up until that point, I didn't even have a social media account. I wasn't even on Facebook. And she was nice enough to recommend you and then Esteban, who we did the show with last week, and both of us have hit it off and become pretty good friends.
Natalie. It was through Natalie that we met.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for her reaching out to a nobody like me, you know what I mean? If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even be doing the show right now. So I have I'm very grateful for being able to meet somebody like Natalie Jacoby. So if she's watching, this is me. Hi.
Yes. And for those of you that don't know who Natalie Jacoby is, she's a liberal personality on Twitter. She promotes resistors, Democrats, and independents. So if you are part of that, check her out. And even if you're not, still check her out. And who knows, you might like some of the things that she has to say, might change your way of thinking, And then there's Joe Walsh, Congressman Joe Walsh, because I'm going on the other side of it, who is a Republican. He has his white flag podcast. Check him out. He's at Walsh Freedom on Twitter, and he talks to everybody. Also, sure, he pushes forward to the Republicans and the independents, but he will reach out and talk with anybody. And that's kind of the point that I'm trying to bring here in relation to unity. Here's two people on sides of the spectrum that will reach out and converse with anybody, trying to unify people.
Yep. I mean, we've been able, I mean, and that was the whole concept, I mean, trying to, that's what started this show really, is trying to bring people into the thought process that we can have differences and not be arguing about them. We can actually talk about them. And if we talk about our differences and embrace our differences, there are so many things we could overcome. I mean, together we would literally be unstoppable. But right now we're all scattered. We're in so many different little groups that nobody's fighting for the whole. You know what I mean? And we got a lot of people to worry about in this country. And I feel like we're being neglected quite a bit, actually.
It's kind of like this, as we were talking about age just moments ago and all before the show started. I'm 54 years old. Okay. My first true president that I watched and listened to was Ronald Reagan. Okay. Oof. And I mean, I vaguely remember Nixon. I vaguely remember Ford. I remember Jimmy Carter a little bit better. But even then I was still young. But the one that I remember is Ronald Reagan. 8 years of Reagan. And there was a lot of things that I didn't like about what he stood for, but there was also a lot of things that, he represented. And he's someone that also on occasion would reach across the aisle. And back then, a lot of the politicians, even though they may have had different ideologies related to policy, they would say, hey, here's an issue. Let's fix it.
And that's how you do it. You know what I mean? Right. Even the old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. I usually say united we flourish, divided we perish. That's my saying. You know what I mean? I kind of make my own twist to it. And I think because right now, what I like to show people is, yes, there's a lot of hate going on in America right now. Yes, there's a lot of bigots out there. There's a lot of idiots out there. I hate to say this, but it's true. That are trying to rip this country apart. You know what I mean? And they're more united under this false idol of theirs than the rest of us are. And that's why they are having such an impact. They are moving as one where we are not. We are just different groups bickering amongst ourselves. If we were, like you said, able to just look beyond all of that and overcome these most of these differences really don't matter. I mean, what is race, religion, sex? That stuff shouldn't even be in the equation when it comes to getting to know somebody. And that, I always believe in the philosophy of, America, one nation, one people. I think we're all Americans. I think we're all fighting for the same. Well, we all should be fighting for the same thing. But now we have politicians that are pulling us backwards. I mean, instead of giving more freedoms, we have politicians that are their whole purpose is to try and take away freedoms. And that's not what America is supposed to be about. We're supposed to stand for freedom. We're supposed to help our fellow Americans, regardless of what they look like. I mean, we're supposed to stand for unity. That is what America is supposed to be about. We are supposed to be the united country. Aren't we the oldest running government in the world right now?
Not the oldest, but the longest.
The longest.
The longest.
That's what I mean.
Form of government. There's other governments. I mean, like England's used parliamentary procedure for hundreds of years, for centuries. Okay, but
they have the king,
right? But they have changed their form of government to some degree because of time and eras and stuff like that. They've changed aspects of it, where for the most part, the United States government has remained the same. Okay.
And you know what's for this whole time, every transition of power has been completely by procedure, except now. The transfer of power has never been, nobody's ever tried to retain power before. That's not what a president does. You don't lose and try and retain power. That's what a dictator does.
Right. But let's get back to unity. Let's get back to unity.
Yes. I'm sorry. I got sidetracked there for a second. But that's what I mean. We have people trying to pull us apart. Well, we should have people pulling us together or putting us together. There are people that are paid online very well on Twitter that get paid to just spread bullshit and misinformation. That's what they get paid to do. And they get paid extremely well. And then people like you and me, I'm just a nobody from Pennsylvania. I don't get paid to do this shit. I do this for free because it's necessary. You know what I mean? We have to start coming together as a country, and we have to do it now. Now's our opportunity. All the hateful ones are out in the open. We know who our enemy is now, not violence. We know who we need to target with our words.
Right. Well, and even then, I want to break that barrier down, because a lot of it does come down to ignorance, and I'm not calling people stupid. I want to define stupidity as somebody that's incapable of learning beyond a certain point, where somebody that is ignorant means they do not have knowledge of a topic. Okay.
Right.
Like brain surgery. I'm ignorant to brain surgery. I can't go in and perform brain surgery, but I'm very well educated when it comes to law. Okay.
I'm ignorant to a lot of things. I mean, you can't know everything.
Right. So
there's always a level of ignorance at some point, but
but we have to reach out to people, even the people that we don't disagree with, and even the people that are racist and bigoted. How does someone that's a racist or a bigot or a misogynist not be that anymore? They have to be educated to their ignorance.
Okay? They do. They can't be through aggression.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I want us to, instead of talking about, these types of things, let's talk about ourselves and why we see things the way that we do. Okay.
Okay. All right. You want to go first, or you want me to go?
I'll go first.
All right.
I grew up in the Quad Cities in Davenport, Iowa. All right. The motto of Davenport, Iowa is a place to grow. In my youth, Iowa was ranked as one of the #1 educational systems in the country. There was a testing where everybody has the basic skills test. The Iowa test of basic skills was one of the first, and most of the basic skills that people take now are based on the Iowa test of basic skills. All right.
Okay.
Well, this is where I grew up in Iowa, a very, very good place for education. All right. And as I was growing up, elementary school was a great place. Almost everybody got along and played well together. There was a few, outsiders, and unfortunately, those outsiders got picked on. And that's where I kind of noticed, bullying, and I found it funny that I didn't find it funny. I found it outrageous that even the teachers would, also bully. And by the time I hit junior high school, I was now the victim of such things, bullying. So I was bullied throughout junior high school and high school. And
I was fortunate there.
Yeah. And I got married at a young age, as a lot of, poor people do. They get married at a young age because, they want to try to make it in this world. And it's really tough on, even back then where the minimum wage was like $3.35 an hour. Okay. I mean, think about that. $3.35 an hour. So
I mean, it's still $7.25 now. How long ago was that?
I know, but even then, it was difficult on a single person on an income of minimum wage could not afford basically to be out on their own. And usually you would find somebody and eventually you'd be moving in with them, getting married, producing children that you can't afford, but hey, that's what you do. And you put yourself in a bad situation. I'm also part of the generation that has the highest divorce rate.
Are you right?
I've been married 4 times, divorced 3 times.
Have you really?
My last wife just passed away last year from cancer, and growing up, I was raised a Democrat. My father was a Democrat. My mother was a Democrat. And I, again, was part of that. I'm a Democrat. So that's the side that I took. Well, in my late 30s, I decided to go back to school again. And I can't see it.
No, I'm showing my phone.
Oh,
I'm live on
I,
Clapper because I'm not talking.
I decided to go back to school again, and I went back to school for criminal justice with an emphasis on law enforcement. Which was my major, and my minor was philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started learning about a lot of the legislation that was passed, I realized that the Democrats weren't the party that I thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I became an independent, and instead of becoming a Republican, because that's not the party that I thought they were either. When you start looking at the legislation and stuff like that, so I became more political in my late 30s due to going back to school. And then when I saw Donald Trump say what he said in relation to Charlottesville and all that, there's very fine people on both sides.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the moment for me too. I was like, "Whoa!"
That's inspired me to write my book. So basically,
Yeah.
I grew up working my ass off. I spent 20 years in the casino industry. I've been a bounty hunter, bail enforcement agent. I have worked.
Paul, the bounty hunter.
I loved being a bounty hunter. I loved.
I
it.
bet you did, man.
Yes.
I would too.
But before I
I
started
was in
working
sales.
before I started working in the casino industry, I'd worked a lot of jobs from McDonald's, janitorial, basically fast food, bars, stuff like that. When I got into the casino industry, that opened doors for me because of the amount of money I made. So I wasn't poor, but I was middle class. I was no longer poor.
Yeah.
I was middle class, but I still lived paycheck to paycheck.
I did the same thing.
Right. And there's been a few times in my life where I almost hit that upper middle class and I could save some money and it's really nice that first time that you can get $10,000 in your bank account. I mean, it's just like,
Never had one. Never ever. Not
see,
once, dude.
I have,
Not once.
I have. And then, other things come along. I've also had 6 digits in my bank account, but
Yeah.
money goes fast too, especially when you do ignorant things, or when you have family members that are in need and you help them out. Money can go fast. So, I've been homeless twice in my life. I've been on drugs and alcohol, and I have been clean since April 3rd, 1993. And the thing of it is everything that I've gone through, it's always taken unity for me to get through situations. All right.
It's always about somebody reaching out, man. There's always got to be that catalyst.
And even though it takes my willpower to want to do that, you also realize that it takes others to help get you there. And if we're going to bring this country back together, that's one of the things that we need to do is we need to start reaching out to each other.
It's not hard to be nice. It's not. Say hi to people, smile, tell a joke. You know what I mean? Hold the door, and carry somebody's bag for them. I mean, it's not hard. It used to be called common decency, but that's out the fucking window now. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree with you, man. There's got to be a catalyst in this country where everybody. I think it's starting, though. I do think it's starting. I think all this stuff with the politics is going to be that lightning rod, and that lightning is going to strike it, and people are going to wake up and realize that we have to come together as people, American people, all American people, before if we're ever going to survive all this.
I hate that terminology, American people, and here's why. Canadians are Americans.
North America, South
Mexicans are
See,
Americans.
why you got to get technical on me?
Hondurans are Americans. Brazilians are Americans.
You know what I mean, though.
Peruvians are
2
American.
feet,
Chileans are
2 feet on
American.
U.S. soil, American. That's what I mean. 2 feet on U.S. soil.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So with North and South and Central America all being Americans, it goes beyond the dynamics of I'm an American. Well, yeah, so are all these other people from all these other countries. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've lost sight of that. And I think part of the unification that we need to see is that there are a whole bunch of other countries that are also Americans. And when they come to the United States of
America, right?
Okay, they need to be treated as that American that we so proudly call ourselves, because we relish in that. I'm an American. Well, so are all these other people.
It doesn't hold much weight anymore, does it? And you almost have to apologize afterwards. You're like, I'm an American. Sorry. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten. Like, it's embarrassing what's happening in the government right now. It really is embarrassing. Like, they could be accomplishing so much if they would just work together. Well, my God, they could have so much done right now.
Let's take it back even another step, okay? Look at the Irish that came here. Look at the Spanish that came here. Look at the Germans that came here. Look at the Finnish, the Norwegians,
the Italians,
the Italians. When you look at all the people that have come from all these different lands, Asia, my God, we have Koreans, Vietnamese, Chinese, Taiwanese. I hope I say all of these correctly. And if I say them incorrectly, just know it's out of ignorance, not due to intent. Okay, I don't mean to offend. The bottom line is that we are like the melting pot of the world. I mean, when you look at all other countries, we have more people from around the world that come to our country, because being an American used to mean something.
It did. Like, that's what we stood for. You're supposed to be able to come here and have a better life. That was the whole point. You know what I mean? And that is not the case anymore. You know, there's way too much oppression going on in the land of the free.
Right.
It's got to stop. It has to stop. If we're going to continue as a country, as a functioning society, we have to realize that we need each other. We do.
Right. And let me differentiate also between being an American used to mean something versus making America great again. Okay. Yeah. Because America was great for many people. Okay.
Yeah. White people. That's it.
Male.
I mean, when has it been great for anybody else ever?
Versus being an American means you're somebody as part of a collective trying to give equality to everybody and allow everyone that pursuit of happiness. There's a difference.
I think it's possible, though. But I think, like I said, there has to always be a jumping off point. And I think right now is it. And the next 2 years are going to tell the tale. Are we going to come together as a country, or are we going to allow people to tear it apart? I refuse to let people tear it apart anymore. You know what I mean? That's why I got involved. I got tired of people ruining our country.
Right. I hope we get together.
But I mean, keep in mind, these people were elected by American citizens.
Yes.
And some of these people have no clue what they're doing in the government, but people chose them to go.
Stick to unity. I'm not disagreeing with you, but stick to unity.
Oh, no, yeah, but that's what I mean. We could have much more cohesion, much more bipartisanship. And I mean, the people are suffering. I mean, that's why I hang the flag upside down behind me. You know what I mean? We are in dire distress.
Yes.
And that's kind of my symbol of this whole movement of mine that isn't really moving that far. But you know what I mean? It's the whole thing comes down. Unity is the key to it all. And that's what actually inspired me to write my book, was realizing that everything starts with an idea. You know what I mean? Everything, even this country at one point, before the founding fathers, before all of that, you know what I mean? It was just an idea. And these people believed in the idea so much, they were willing to risk their lives in order to start America, United States.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's something we should respect. And I don't, because the founding fathers, let's be honest, they had to be convinced. It's not like they were all on board right away, like, oh, yeah, let's unify and then start a country. No, they had to be like seriously convinced and almost pressured into, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but at the same time, that's what happens when you get people that are different from different places, different backgrounds, different thought processes together. And if you can put those thought processes together, magic happens. I mean, you can really accomplish great things when you work as one.
Right. Right.
Tell us a little bit of fighting and bickering. Oh, you want to tell me about myself?
Tell us about you now. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm an Army brat. I was actually born in California. I traveled all over the world as a kid. I had a great childhood. You know what I mean? I lived in the military with my father and my mom until I was about 15 when he retired. And I got to live in Germany. I got to live in a few states in the United States, man. I went to 3 different high schools. My freshman year, I was in Germany. My sophomore year, I was in California again. And then my senior year, I was here in Pennsylvania. And I was an athlete and I was a good student. You know what I mean? I wasn't really a bad kid. My sophomore year, I turned into a bad, hung out with the wrong crowd in my sophomore year. Ooh, that was a bad year. But I was a average athlete. The only thing I really ever accomplished, I ran the mile in 4 minutes and 58 seconds one time when I was a runner in high school. And I'm only 5'8", so like my little legs were going super fast. And then after high school, I really had no idea because my dad and my mom were great. Loved to death. I wish my dad was still here. He was a great man, best man I've ever met, the greatest man I've ever known. And he taught me how to treat people the same. You know what I mean? I was brought up in a multicultural environment. When you grow up in the military, man, you live in military housing. You don't pick what house you live in. They assign you a house. So you're just mixed in with everybody. You know what I mean? And that was the beautiful part. And never in my life, and some people get mad at me. They're like, oh, I don't know why they get mad at you for saying this, but all my life, I never had a conversation with my parents about you can't play with this person because of this, or what they look like, or who they pray to. That never happened in my house. So that's kind of why I am the way I am. I believe that you treat people accordingly. You know what I mean? You treat people with respect. You treat people the way you would want to be treated. And if they're assholes, then you treat them like assholes. You treat them accordingly, but you don't treat everybody like that. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of I want to share with other people. And that's what I've been trying to share with other people. And that's, I think, what kind of manifested into the book was trying to bring people together. Like I came up with a question a couple years ago that I was seeing a counselor at the time. And I asked him the question, and it took us 3 months to figure out the answer to this question. The question I came up in my head was, if you knew you were going to die, but the only thing that could save your life was you would have to do a completely selfless act, what would you do? And then, of course, the first things we started saying was like, oh, we could donate an organ, but you're donating an organ to save your own life. So it's not selfless. You're still doing it for selfish reasons. And then I came up with the idea of unifying a country. That's how my book idea came to be. It's the most selfless thing I could do was try to unite people. Because, I mean, to me, I've learned in my life, because I went down a rough path I did good up until about my late 20s, early 30s. And I got into the whole opiate, the painkiller, when painkillers were everywhere. And unfortunately, I got wrapped up in that, and that ruined a decade of my life, but glad that's over. And like, since then, though, I've had such a hard time putting my life back together. It's amazing how hard it is in America. If you, on top, I was close to making 6 figures for the first time. And then all of a sudden, my life crashes. I'm homeless. I'm going to rehab. You know what I mean? I can't hold a job now. I can't make anywhere near the money. My background now with fact checks, there's no way I can get a regular job. You know what I mean? Because of my background. But nobody sees me for who I am now. If they look at my past, that's what they judge me by. I'm not the same person. And I want people to know that you can change. And it took me breaking my leg and going through all that pain to change. That was the defining moment, is when I fell in the snow. I was 300 pounds at the time, fell in the snow, snapped my leg into like an L shape. And I was laid up for 4 or 5 months and I couldn't do anything. So that's when I had the idea for the book. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't run. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do nothing. So I wrote, and it took me about 9 months, but it worked out pretty good. And, it is what it is. It's not something I ever thought I'd do. And then now I'm into politics. I'm on social media trying to make a difference. Not something I thought I'd do. This is like the weirdest midlife crisis anybody's ever had. I swear to God, like, who does that? Like, most people go buy a car, you know what I mean? Or like a new wardrobe, or
well,
who decides to write a book about uniting America? Come on. Nobody does that. That's an insane idea. And that's usually the response I get. Like, you're crazy. Well, yeah, probably.
Maybe writing the book and all that is, on the verge of craziness, but the political aspect, when, again, I spent all this time in the casino industry and around people all the time, and it never really got all that heated when we talked politics.
Okay? I was in sales, and politics was a no subject. You never talk politics or religion with a customer.
Right.
Unless you go to the same church and you know them, but I was in sales my whole life. So like, I was always about trying to manipulate people into buying things they didn't need, and just for the extra buck. You know what I mean? All I cared about was making more money. So I'm sitting there trying to, not ripping people off, but that's what sales is. It's manipulation. Right. It's, and I'm good at it. I hate to say it, but I'm damn good at sales. And I'm good at reading people, like you are with the casino industry. You learn, you see signals, you see even the smallest movement. Once you get good at it.
My first decade working in the casino industry, I don't think hardly anybody ever talked about politics, whether it was customers or in the break room. And then by the time George Bush Jr. became president, is when I started to notice more aggression amongst sides. And then
you're right, yeah.
Yeah, and then when Obama came in, I was blown away at how aggressive and how tribal we were. I was blown away then, and even then, I really didn't talk about politics much. I tried to stay out of those conversations because of how aggressive people were getting. And then by the time Trump became president, it was just like, oh my God, you can't have a conversation without it going political and the anger and the hatred if you're not on my side.
See, that's what I hated about when Trump was in office. You couldn't even talk to people about other opinions. Like if you're a Trump supporter and you said, "Oh, I don't like Trump," they get mad.
Right.
They get mad at you.
I think a lot of us were hoping that, if Biden got elected, that would help ease up on that tension. And no,
it's gotten worse. No. It's gotten worse. Like they're out in the open now. These hateful bigots in this country have decided to expose themselves. Well, like I always say, you can't fight an enemy you can't see. But now we see who we are up against. You know what I mean? Of course, I don't mean fight in the physical sense, but
and I know how anti-Republican you are, okay, but
right now, yeah,
okay. I understand, because when somebody tells me they're a Republican, my first thought is, God, I hope they're not a racist.
I know.
And my thought shouldn't go there, but it does, because when you have organizations like the Ku Klux Klan and other white superiority groups that praise and follow and fly the Trump flag, and the right doesn't condemn them, there's a problem. And I know that there are Republicans that aren't racist, that aren't bigots, but you have to ask yourself, if you don't like being called a racist and a bigot because you prefer to be a Republican, why aren't you condemning those Republicans that are working with and not, are allowing these people to be a part of the Republican Party. You're accepting their funding, you're accepting their donations, you're accepting their lobbyist money. Why do you think that people associate that? Okay, so, and that is sad. But then there's people on the left that you like Elon Musk, you're a white nationalist, you're a racist, and you're a corporatist. No, I'm not. Okay, I like Elon Musk. Okay,
yeah, I'm not a fan.
Right, but see, I like him, and I'm not gonna put judgment on him because of a party putting judgment on him. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to both sides are so politicized that it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're not on that side, people are talking down to you because of certain things that you like or you believe or you agree or disagree with. And here you're talking about unity, and now it's like I bring up Elon Musk. Why don't you like Elon Musk?
Right. I mean, I can talk to you about it. I don't, you know what I mean? But what you're asking me, why don't I like him?
Yeah, why don't you like him?
I think he gets too much credit. I mean, he's not an engineer. He's not an inventor. He's not a genius. He just, when you start your career with $20 billion, people throw ideas at you. You can buy a lot of ideas and say, hey, look what I did. That's all. I mean, hey, okay, you start your career with $20 is a whole lot different. But you start your career with $20 billion.
And what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. But then to be a dick at the same time about it, you know what I mean?
I don't like his personality, but I like what he does.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is in a realm of his own. I mean, he is beyond super wealthy. You know what I'm saying?
And he is innovative. He is highly intelligent. He does have education in engineering. Okay. Though, again, I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
But yet I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to law and the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you use that statement, well, he's not an engineer, I'm not a lawyer. Does that take away from my ability and my knowledge?
I'm just saying money allows you to do things nobody else is able to do.
Yes. I'm just saying don't dislike somebody because they are privileged and they have something.
No, I'm not saying
when they do wrong.
I mean, he's done great things, like with the electric car. I think it's fantastic. You know what I mean? But I just think, like you said, his personality, you know what I mean? But he's in a whole different realm. Like, look, mentally, that guy's on another planet. Okay. That guy doesn't exist on the same plane of existence as we do. Us poor people. Like, I went up to Elon Musk and I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with the guy. It'd be awkward, horrible conversation.
Right.
Because he doesn't think you could. Yeah. But nah, I mean, he's not me. You put me in front of, like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg. We'll chill and have a conversation all day.
I can have a conversation with Snoop Dogg. I could have a conversation with Trump.
No.
I despise the man. I despise him as a human being. I despise him as a politician, but I can still sit down and have a conversation with him. Granted, I don't know how long it would last. But
I was going to say, I'd make it about 30 seconds.
But hold on. We're talking about unity, okay? We're talking about unity.
Sorry.
I would make the good faith effort of having a discussion with him. I would want to know what makes him tick, why he thinks the way he does.
It would be interesting if there was some reasoning behind it. I mean, it's like maddening trying to figure it out. But maybe if he actually explained what he's doing, it'd be like, I might not agree with it, but maybe you don't.
Maybe if someone actually sat down and had a real conversation with him, maybe he might be able to reflect in the mirror a little bit and maybe learn a little bit something about himself and maybe make the decision to become a better person.
Yeah, put him in front of me. I'll turn him in. I'll humble him real quick.
Well, I'm just saying, when we're talking unity, okay?
Yeah, I know.
When we're truly talking unity, even those that we do not like, we do not approve of, we do not think that they're taking the best interest of humanity first, we still have to have a conversation with them and hope that certain things can become a little bit better, because part of that problem, the reason why the right has gone so far right and the left has gone so far left, is because people aren't having those conversations. And if we're going to
nobody's having
unify,
conversations right now.
what's that?
Nobody's having conversations right now. It's just yelling and screaming.
That's my point. There's not enough good faith conversations, because I can talk with anybody on any topic if they come to it in good faith. If they truly want to have a conversation about something,
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
argue with the best of them. My God, Joe Walsh and I do not agree on UBI.
I heard you guys.
All right. Yeah. And we still had a conversation, and we are still friends. We still talk, We will continue to have conversations.
Well,
because
you and me see differently on things.
Do that, huh?
You and me see differently on things, but we don't argue about it. We just talk about it. Or I'll even call you, like the other day when I called you. There was something I saw on online that I was conflicted about, and I didn't know how to understand it. Like, I didn't know how to process the emotions I was feeling, so I called you. You know what I mean? And you see things differently than I do, but I called you because I didn't understand what was going on with myself. And I knew that maybe you would be the best person to explain it. And we had, an hour-long conversation about it. And we didn't argue. We didn't yell. We didn't call each other names. We talked it out. I mean, that's was like, if I don't know, I think it's going to be very hard, and it's going to take a long time for people to be able to put aside petty differences, sex, gender, religion, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. I think it's going to take a long time, a lot of work, like by people like us, like-minded, I guess, that were willing to put in the effort to bring people together.
Well, one of the other problems is that people don't even call into question their own belief systems. They would much rather just stand behind it because they don't want to know that they backed the wrong horse, basically. Okay. Right. If you have a belief system, no matter what it is, pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-abortion, anti-abortion, pro-religion, anti-religion, whatever the conversation is, question your beliefs. Because if you're not willing to have that good faith conversation and question your beliefs, no ground can be made. All right. I have my belief systems, but I question them. And when somebody brings something up that goes against my own belief system, I want to know why they believe the way they do. Because maybe they can point something out that I didn't know, or I didn't think about, or have some information that is lacking from the information I have for my belief system. And
you're the one that told me a long time ago to prove yourself wrong. Try and prove yourself wrong. If you do, if you're wrong, and you change, you know what I mean? If you find out that you're wrong, and then you make adjustments to yourself, that's a good thing. That's called growth. Personal growth. Life should be about personal growth, personal reflection.
Right. Here's why this is why unity is so difficult, though, Jeremy. People don't want to prove themselves wrong. They want to prove themselves right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not going to learn anything if you just think you're right all the time. That's kind of like you said, it goes back to ignorance, though. You know what I mean? And especially these days, because you and me grew up pre-internet. Okay, so getting information back in the day when we were young, damn near difficult. It was hard. Up-to-date information was damn near impossible.
The Dewey Decimal System.
I swear that was created by Satan. I hate it. Oh God, just open up those drawers, all those cards, dude. Start having twitches and panic attacks and stuff. But no,
hold on,
seriously,
Gen Y. Just so you know, the Dewey Decimal System is when you would go to the library and you would pull out this little square tube of cards, and you would look at all the little informative numbers up at the top with the letters of the
paper
author or the topic. And you would find what you were looking for by going that route.
That's what I mean. Like today,
then you would have to go in the library to that number segment and find that book, which might take you another half an hour. And then if the book is checked out, and you spend after you spend an hour looking for it, those of us that got smart, we would go to the librarian and say, "Do you have this book? Is it on the shelf or is it checked out? That book is out. That book is out. But those two are on the shelf. Have fun." And you would go back and look for those books.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't miss that at all. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and up-to-date information back then, we relied on what? The news and newspapers and radio. That was it. And even the internet, when it first started out, was not great. I mean, it took forever just to download a picture. So the ease of information now, there should be less ignorance, but there seems to be more. Or there's always been there. It's always been there, and they're just out in the open now.
Because people are looking for the things to prove themselves right. They don't prove themselves wrong. You know, Jeremy, when I wrote my book, I went in there with some preconceived notions of what I thought things were. And I had proven myself wrong on quite a few different things.
Yeah.
And where most people are going to say, screw that, I'm going with what I want to believe, I was overjoyed that I had proven myself wrong because I learned something new.
Right. And that's how expanding, and people are so afraid of expanding their mind or learning something new or believing something different. I mean, you never know. You might prove yourself wrong, but it might make your belief system even stronger. You might have a better foundation. You know what I mean? And you can believe in multiple things at the same time. You're not going to explode. It's okay. But I think that's what makes America great, though. I mean, every time somebody comes from another country, they bring their country with them. You know what I mean? So that's why America's so awesome, and we have so many different cultures working in relative harmony, except for all the hateful bigots that are trying to rip everything apart. But for the most part, everybody's just trying to live a better life. That's the whole thing.
I got a great story for you. Now, remember, I've worked all these years in the casino industry, and I enjoyed working in Vegas the most because it was the most diverse. And I worked at multiple different casinos in my time in Vegas. And I have tried food from Ethiopia. Oh, my God, is it good? I have tried food from Nigeria, Zambia, South Africa, North Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, China, India, Taiwan. Oh my God. I have worked with people from all over the world. I've worked with people from Turkey. I've worked with people from Lithuania. I have worked with people from the UK, whether you're talking Scotland, Ireland, Wales, England. I've worked with people from all over the world.
And my oldest friends from London.
And the thing that I loved the most about working with all these people were the potlucks that we would have at the casinos. People would make things from their country. And I have tasted food from all over the world. And I tell you,
go ahead, I'll listen.
I tell you, if there's a way to your heart to other people from countries,
through the stomach,
food. So if you think that you do not like somebody because of their religion, their race, their sex, or whatever, find out what foods they eat and try some of their food. I guarantee you, after you try some of their food, you're going to want to get to know that culture or that religion or that country a little bit better, because I tell you, there is a lot of flavor out there.
The nice thing about where I'm from, I mean, I live out in it's not the country, but I mean, our whole town is kind of in the country. It's a city of 35,000 people. It's small. and we're in this big valley. It's a beautiful area, all wooded areas around it. You know what I mean? You drive 2 minutes out of town, you're in the woods. But we have a really diverse we have a very diverse environment as far as cultures go. So it is nice seeing and around here, everybody for the most part gets along. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of that anti-Trump racism nonsense in my city. I haven't seen a single bit of it. You know what I mean? Even through the worst of times, our city's kind of had its own little. We're in our own little bubble. I'm kind of protected from all the harsh realities of the big cities. But I like it though. I mean, I used to hate it here because it is kind of boring, especially if you're poor. There ain't shit to do. You go hiking. You go hiking anytime you want, or go to the river. People have river lots around here. That's what they do. But I've lived in big cities too, and I mean, like I said, growing up in the military, I think that was the best part about growing up in the military is having friends from all over the world.
Yes.
And that's what turned me into the person I am today. That's why I love other people, is because that's what I grew up with. But at the same time, how do we get through, Paul? How do we get through to the people? See, I grew up with love in my house the whole time. For other people, for me, my parents were always around. My father was great. You know, I wasn't abused. My parents weren't on drugs. My parents didn't drink. Like I had a good childhood. I mean, I will never say anything bad about my childhood.
Right.
But yeah, growing up around here and everything like that, it took a while for me to love it. It took a while, but I've embraced the environment now, and I know a lot of people around here. When you live in, even if you run into people around here, you just do. It's not like a big city. If you don't want to see somebody ever again, you'll never see them again. Around here, you'll see somebody again eventually. You just run into Walmart, down at the gym,
Right.
somewhere. But it's a very, very diverse environment, and it's nice. It is nice. I was even invited by I go to the store every single day, and the people are from India that own it, and we've gotten along so good over the years, and I've probably spent more money there than I've spent anywhere else. They actually invited me to go to India with them next year with their family. I thought that was pretty cool. But that's the kind of relationships I build with people because I see past all the stupid shit people don't want to see past. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I see people as beautiful, but how does somebody that has had hate their whole life and has been taught to hate other people their whole life, like the exact opposite of me, okay? You know what I mean? Like think of somebody that's had nothing but hate and abuse and drugs. And I mean, because this is happening in America. Kids are being raised by drug addicts. You know, kids or their parents are kicking them out for them choosing a different gender. I mean, there's so much bad shit going on right now. How does a kid like that growing up turn into somebody that wants to embrace other people? That's the hard part.
What we have to do is we have to become knowledgeable, and to become knowledgeable, we have to interact. So the best thing to do is, even if you have a belief system that you were taught, I guarantee if you interact with people, you're going to learn different things. Like religion. Okay, my first wife, her mother, her aunt, and her uncle were all ministers. Okay.
Who?
Yeah. And me, I believed in God, or, just never really was. My dad wasn't someone that went to church or believed in God. And
Yeah.
through talking to people at school, I kind of liked the concept, the idea of a God. And with my first wife, I actually read the Bible and then read it again and read it again. I have been a Presbyterian. I have been a Pentecostal. I have been a Lutheran. I have been a Baptist. I have been I have been a Jehovah's Witness. I've been a Mormon. I've gone through them because
you covered all the bases.
I was looking for a God. Okay. I wanted God to be real. Now hear me out on this. I got you. I wanted to believe really, really bad that there was a God. Okay. And I looked to the Abrahamic religions, which what a lot of people don't realize is that when you start looking at the Book of Islam, the Muslim beliefs, that it has Noah, it has Adam and Eve. It's an Abrahamic story, which
Mm-hmm.
is the same thing that the Christians believe. Okay, um, it's for the most part the same religion. There's just like there's differences between Presbyterian and Pentecostal and Mormon and
Mm-hmm.
Jehovah's Witness. There is with also Muslim. Okay,
Yeah.
and then the Torah. Then, of course, I've also studied Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism. I have studied a lot of different philosophies and religions. I've gone back
Mm-hmm.
and looked at the Roman gods and the Greek gods, the Code of Hammurabi, and went by its laws and lessons. Um, it doesn't matter if there's a God or not. Okay, it truly doesn't matter. If you are a good, kind, loving, caring person, that is what matters. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm wrong and there's not a God out there, which I don't believe in a God, I do believe in creation. Okay. And that's just of late that I have come to a an awakening spiritually, and I believe in the fabric of a not a creator, but all of creation.
Well, that's when
Um,
I had my realization about deism because I had my own. I wrote a whole chapter on faith, the word faith, not faith in God or faith in religion, but I wrote a chapter on the word faith because I think people have lost faith. People are losing hope in this country, and I think hope. That's why I kind of wanted to talk about something different today because I think hope is as essential to people as air and water. You know what I mean? Mentally, hope is what keeps us
yes,
going through the worst of times. You can
yes.
go through anything in life if you know there is something at the end that is going to be great or rewarding or something.
Well, and even if you don't know that there's something greater or whatever at the end, there's always the aspect of feeling good in the moment for doing something good. And as my
Yeah, you know what?
And as my good friend Diana Bishop says, imagine if love was the currency instead of money.
Sorry, I got an ambulance going by. That was a good point, though. I mean, that's a good point. Like, what is wrong with love? What is wrong with empathy? Caring. Why are these things bad? They're not bad, but people like when you're as a man in America, you tell somebody you start talking about love and feelings and empathy, they look at you funny. Why? Those are good things. Like holding hate
Yes.
and anger. Hate is like an anchor for your soul, and it will drag you down to the deepest depths of the earth if you let it hang on to you. And people don't understand. Letting go of hate is lifting the biggest weight in the world off of your shoulders. I mean, hate will drag you down. Hate will make you miserable. It'll make you
Yes.
angry at other people, and you won't even know why. But that's a lot of people have too much hate in their lives, too much of that. They won't let it go. And they don't understand the benefits of letting stuff because that stuff toxic to your soul, man. Hate,
Yes.
anger, this stuff will turn you into just a bad person. And like you said, doing good thing. I realized because I did a lot of lying and cheating in my day when I was on drugs. Okay, so I'll admit that. And I did a lot of bad things. And I lived a long time with a lot of guilt and shame and remorse for all the people I screwed over and the relationships I had ruined. Now I realize doing good things makes me feel amazing, whether it's just something small or making somebody laugh or trying to help somebody out. I put $8 in somebody's gas tank the other day because their gas light was on and they couldn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? And I'm
So good.
broke, but I still put $8 in somebody's
Yes.
gas tank. You know what I'm saying? I know that doesn't sound like a lot to most people, but I only had like $20. You know what I'm saying? But that's the kind of stuff, little things like that. If everybody did little things like that, just imagine how much brighter this country would be. There would be so much less anger, so much less hate.
Exactly. But people are stuck on themselves.
We'll get them
Hopefully,
there. We got work to do.
hopefully they become unstuck and start to see the joy in giving. But until then, hey, what can we do?
So everybody's got their own personal path they have to walk.
Yep. I mean, I come on here. I run shows 5 days a week now, sometimes
Do you
6.
really?
Yeah, sometimes 6. And
I haven't started my own yet.
yeah, and I come on here. I don't get paid. I'm not making money doing this. I only got 227 subscribers. How do you make money with that?
Yeah.
But for me, it's not about making the money. It's about giving people a voice. It's about talking about the issues. It's about communicating and having conversation. And the more people that I can connect with and reach out to and tell them my ideas, tell them my thoughts, the more they can share their ideas and their thoughts, and maybe collectively we can come up with better solutions, and maybe eventually bring this country to a point to where everybody actually does love each other.
Yeah. I've been
I mean,
pushing it on that. I've been pushing it, man, on this new. Oh yeah, before I go, if anybody's on here, check out my new account on Clapper. It's a TikTok alternative. Just starting out, but I've been posting a lot of videos about uniting and overcoming differences. You know what I mean? Trying to promote positivity in America for once.
yeah. And again, if anybody knows of any organizations that promote unity, after the show, feel free to go to the comments and put it in there and let us know, and maybe we can talk about it on one of our future episodes. Remember, this is about love and community and people working together.
It's got to be done. It's
Yep.
not a request. I mean, it's a demand, not a request. We have to do it.
Yes. All right, everybody. Remember, be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. Thank you.